All right, we're looking at today 9.5, solving quadratic equations by graphing. So the difference today, though, there's only two differences. We've got to have all the numbers on one side, and I'll explain that in more detail. And you're going to find where it crosses the x-axis. Because the x-intercepts, you might want to write these down too, also called roots, zeros, and solutions.
Make sure you write that down. Different things.
Yeah, your book sometimes calls it roots, sometimes calls it zeros, sometimes calls it solutions. So you've got to write those down. Okay? The x-intercepts of the graph y equals ax squared plus bx plus c are the solutions of the related equation 0 equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Recall that an x-intercept is the x-coordinate point where a graph crosses the x-axis. At this point, y equals 0. So you might want to draw a picture just to remember. Those are the solutions. Where it crosses the x-axis, that's the solutions. Okay. Then it goes through again, and it again goes through steps to graph and be able to find out what the roots are. Okay. All right, let's look at our first example. The graph of y equals 1/2 x squared minus 8 is shown below. We're going to use the graph to estimate what the solutions are. Can somebody please raise their hand and tell me what are the solutions, the roots, the zeros, the x-intercepts of this graph?
What does it mean when she's asking for that? Where does it cross the what axis? Parallel crosses the two different sides. On the x-axis, look at where your x-axis is. Where does it touch? I heard something.
4 and negative 4. So x will equal 4 and x will equal negative 4. These two things right here. Let's try this real quick. I didn't try this with the last class. Let's try plugging them in and see if we get the answer. See, we're looking at the equation 0 equals 1/2 x squared minus 8. I'm going to plug in 4 and see if it comes out 0. And then I'm going to plug in negative 4 to see if it comes out 0. So 1/2 4 squared minus 8. What is 4 squared? 16. Good. What is half the 16? What is 8 minus 8? 0. Would anything be different if I made this a negative 4? What's negative 4 squared? Not negative 16. Positive 16.
Because a negative times a negative.
It would be exactly the same. So both of these answers, when you plug it in, come out as 0. That's how you know it's a solution. So this is the graphic way. Please don't talk while I'm talking. I've graphed this. I've told you where it crosses the x-axis. This is the algebraic way. I've plugged it in for x and found out that it does equal 0. Let's turn it over and look at example 2. Okay, first I've got this equation. X squared minus x equals 2. What do these equations have to equal? What did the last one equal? 0. So I can't have it equal to 2. So watch what I do. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides of my equal sign. These go away. I'm left with x squared minus x minus 2 equals 0. Then it is just like what we did yesterday. I'm going to label it. I'm going to plug it into the axis of symmetry. I'm going to find the vertex. And then I'm going to graph it by plotting points. So number 1. Let's start around the group. Melissa, can you tell me what A, B, and C are for this problem? Terrence, can you tell me what A, B, and C are for this problem? Okay, where is A? It looks like this. We've got ax squared plus bx plus c. What is in front of x squared? What is in front of x? B is negative 1, and C is negative 2. Okay? Then, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to plug it into negative B over 2A to find the x value, or my axis of symmetry. So it's minus a negative 1 over 2 times 1. So I'm going to get that x equals 1/2. Okay? Once I have this, what do? Plug it into my original equation, right? So I'm going to get 1/2 squared minus 1/2 minus 2 equals 0. If you want to change these right away to decimals, that's fine. 1/2 squared is 0.25 minus 0.5 minus 2 equals 0. Okay? If I've got negative 50 cents, but I give you a quarter, you now have negative 0.25 minus 2 equals 0. So you owe me $2 and you owe me a quarter, so you owe me $2.25. So our y value equals negative 2.25. So my vertex is 1/2 or 0.5, comma, negative 2.25. Hold on, I've got to align the board. Okay, so I've got negative, so I go over 0.5, and I go down 1, 2, and a little bit. Okay? This point right here is my axis of symmetry. So it's got to be the same on both sides of that dotted red line. Do you see how that's not at 0? It's at 1/2. That's important. Okay. I'm going to choose 3 points to plug into my original equation. I'm going to choose the smallest points or the ones just 3 to the right because it's going to be easier. So I'm going to choose +1, +2, and +3. This is going to be the easiest ones. So all I'm doing with these is plugging it into my original equation. 1 squared minus 1 minus 2. 1 squared is 1, 1 minus 1 is 0, so I get negative 2. Now I do 2 squared minus 2 minus 2. 2 squared is 4, 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 minus 2 gives me 0. Now I'm going to do 3 squared minus 3 minus 2. 3 squared is 9, 9 minus 3 is 6, 6 minus 2 is 4. So now I am going to plug these in. So I've got 1, I've got negative 2, so it's just above it. At 2, I've got 0. At 3, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Does a parabola look like that? It's got to have the other side, right? So I look at my dotted line and I'm like, okay, I went 1/2 over to get 1, so I go 1/2 over to get 0, and I line it up so it's at negative 2. It's at the same place. So I went over 1.5 to get negative 2, so I go over 1.5 to get 1, and I make sure it's lined up in the same spot. I go over 3, go over 3, and I have my axis of symmetry. My axis of symmetry, excuse me, is showing my parabola. Same on each side. Okay. Where does it cross the x-axis? What are my zeros, my solutions, my x-intercept, my roots? It is negative 1 and positive 2. X equals algebraically, to make sure you're right, you simply plug back in 2 for x, come up with 0. Plug back in -1 for x, come up with 0. Okay, just stick it in your calculator. Alright, instead of doing the word problem, I think we should do a problem from tonight's homework. Because your word problem that we're doing, you really need a graphic calculator to do, and I don't know how relevant that's going to be. So if we look at tonight's homework, let's look at number 22.
Just real quick before we do 22 while she's erasing, what the book wants for 18 and 20, it says, use the graph to identify the roots of the quadratic equation. What are the roots? It's the same as what? The zeros, the solutions, or where it crosses the x-axis, right? That's all you have to do. 22 and 26 is use a graph to estimate the solution of the equation. Check your solutions algebraically. Remember, for 22 and 26, oh, she's doing one of them. What number is that?
22.
Okay. Here's how you do 20, 22, 26, and 30. Pay attention.
Okay, so the first thing you're going to have to do is subtract 3 from both sides. Then you get x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0. Now we're all set up to go through those steps. First, a equals 1, b equals 2, and c equals -3. Step 1 is complete. Step 2, we plug it into -b over 2a. So we say -2 over 2 times 1. 2 times 1 is 2. -2 divided by 2 gives us -1. That equals x. Okay? Now we're going to plug that back in. We're on step 3. We're plugging it into the original problem so that we can figure out what y is. So I'm going to say -1 squared plus 2 times -1 minus 3. -1 squared is 1. 2 times -1 is -2 minus 3. 1 minus 2 is -1. -1 minus 3 gives us -4. So my vertex is -1, -4. So I go -1, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my vertex, and my red dotted line is my axis of symmetry. If I fold my parabola in half, it'll be the same on either side.
Is this parabola going to go up or down? Just by looking at
Is it
it.
going to be a smiling face or a frowning face?
Is there a negative
No,
in front of the
it's
exponent?
fine.
Right.
Smile.
Remember, smiles is positive. You're positive thinking. Negative is frown. You're sad. It's negative. Okay. So now I'm going to choose 3 points to plug in for x. I'm going to choose 0, 1, and 2.
Do you guys know how she comes up with that? Once you plot your vertex,
Just do the 3 points to the right of the axis of symmetry.
that's how you get the points you want to choose.
Okay, so I'm going to plug in 0 to my original equation, which is x squared plus 2x minus 3. Okay, so the first thing I do is plug in 0. So I get 0 squared plus 2 times 0 minus 3. That gives me -3. Okay, and then I'm going to do 1 squared plus 2 times 1 minus 3. Okay, that gives me 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 minus 3 gives me 0. Then I'm going to go 2 squared plus 2 times 2 minus 3. 2 squared is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 minus 3 gives me 5. Okay? Then I go back up with my nice little chart now, and I'm going to plot those points. When x is 0, y is -3. When x is 1, y is 0. When x is 2,